My point of view is that there's this ability to be nimble and flexible, and there's not really a cap.
Tom, take us to before the DST, right? You're doing deals, you're looking at deals, you're looking at tax, right? Take us through kind of like the big problem or challenge that you faced before we started to connect and talk about strategy with the DST.
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting too. So let me go kind of back to what was the genesis of my founding of the DST. You will find Brett is invited to high net worth events, people who are strategic about their capital. That's how I ended up finding him. I think it was through some sort of podcast, I think with Marco Santarelli, maybe, good friend. Anyway, so I looked into it. I was doing an exit. 1031s were kind of like what everyone was doing. But one thing I often see with wealthier people in 1031s, they're fine vehicles initially, but at some point you hit the ceiling. And what I mean is there's only so many deals that are 10, 20, $40 million. And of course we know about the shot clock forcing you to make bad decisions. And so you do a big enough deal and then you do another deal that essentially should be doubling your money. You're going to come up into a corner where you don't have any deals to find. And then you're going to be forced, very, very much like VC firms were in the last few years, to make bad choices. And that's kind of what concerned me, is that the path of a 1031 ends up putting you in a corner where that's one of the biggest strengths of the DST, from my point of view, is that there's this ability to be nimble and flexible. And there's not really a cap. And what I mean is if you decide to buy a multifamily building, you turn around and flip it. Now you're buying a tower for call it 20, 30 million. You flip it, make 10 million. Now you're $40 million. That rules you out of a lot of asset classes. But now you can pivot and go to a different asset class within the DST. That's what attracted me to it. And then I'll say, just before I made a decision, going back to my OCD sort of risk hedging, I flew out to Napa. Brett drove with his lovely wife about an hour and a half to meet us. And we sat down with some wine, got him a little boozed up to see if he was truly the character he says he was. And here we are now. So I went through that process to vet him out. So that's kind of all in one why I chose the DST.
Okay, excellent. I'm glad that worked out.
I'm calling you out, man.
Yeah, no, that was an awesome trip.